So for tonight's presentation, I'm going to ask Bob, W9EWZ, to introduce our guest. Bob?
Yes, I'm really pleased that we have with us tonight Bernie McClenny, W3UR. Bernie's a good friend to the Madison DX Club. He's really been instrumental in publicizing all our programs, and we really appreciate all your help with that, Bernie. Bernie is the editor of the daily and the weekly DX newsletter, and he's also the the author of the How's DX column in QST. So, you know, Bernie's a guy who really has his fingers on the heartbeat of DX and DXpeditions. So there's no one better to talk to us tonight about the most wanted entities. So Bernie, whenever you're ready, please go ahead.
Okay, I guess someone's gonna give me the share screen, maybe I have to hit it. Okay, I've done a couple of these, and let's just share and slideshow, play from the start. Okay, sorry, that's the best I could do with the logo that I could find. You guys need a better quality logo there. Anyway, I'd like to thank Bob for inviting me to come and present. And I will not be at W9DXCC this year, unfortunately. But that's actually my favorite event of the year. It was the first DX convention that I ever went to. And I got to tell you, the W9s really treated me well. I think my first convention was in 1998 or 99. I don't remember, but really had a good time there. Anyway, tonight we're going to talk about the top 25 DXCC entities, the most wanted, and a couple other little things that I've thrown in here to the presentation. It might be best for this presentation, because I kind of like get on a roll and just keep going, that you hold off on the questions until the end. I would be glad to answer any questions about DXing at the end, if that's okay. What are most wanted lists? The most wanted lists were first started back in the 50s, before I was even born. They're good for DXers. They're used by DXpeditioners. They have different modes and bands that people can look at now with the more modern most wanted lists. So they're really a great tool for both the DXer and the DXpeditioner. Back in the day, N4AA, actually I should back up just for a second. I think the first most wanted list was probably done in the mid 50s also, when DXers had just gotten over the 100 mark, and they were kind of curious and comparing between each other's DX exploits. You know, what have you worked? What do you need? So it's kind of informal, if you will, back in the 50s and 60s. Probably the most prolific one at the time in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, the DX magazine came out with their annual listing. And what they would do is they would survey their readers in September, in their September-October issue. Every year they would send out, in that issue, there'd be 1 or 2 pages of listings of all the countries that they thought people might need. And the subscribers would check off which ones they needed and mail it in. And Carl and N4AA would tabulate the results. And in later years, G3SXW, Roger Western, would manipulate the data. He did a lot of polls professionally, and he knew how to do this kind of stuff. And he would manipulate the data to give the results. And they were typically given out in the January, February, the first issue of the year of the DX magazine. Well, the DX magazine is come and gone, and Carl has too, and unfortunately Roger also has passed on. But then the ARRL, believe it or not, they used to kind of track some of this stuff, and I just recently got earlier this morning got the most the listing from the ARRL, that what's called the top 340, and unfortunately I didn't get the data quick enough, but P5 is basically at the top of the list, and there's probably about 7,000 roughly guys that have submitted cards for P5, but maybe in the next presentation I can add that back into to give a little more data. But the last information I had was from 2018, 4 years ago, and I just got the information this morning, like I said. But that's some pretty good information too, just to give us an idea. But nowadays, the most wanted list, the best one out there, and the only one I'm aware of, I think at this point, is Clublog. And Clublog takes the data from people who have submitted logs and from the expedition logs, and the results are published on the website twice a month. They're updated twice a month. So that's where all my data is coming from as far as the top 25. And this is a world listing of the top 25. You can break it down by areas such as Europe, North America, the eastern half of the US, that would include Wisconsin, the western half, which is, I guess, W6, W7, W0, maybe parts of W5. So you can split it up how you want to look at it. But this is a world listing of the top 25. And coming in at number 25 is Heard Island. The last time we've seen any activity from this one was the VK0EK de-expedition in 2016. They made about just over 75,000 QSOs. The time before that, I think it was VK0IR, which was about 20 some years prior to that. So it's probably going to be, before we see this one, it'll probably be 20 years from 2016, most likely. I mean, it's expensive to go there. It's out of the way. It's not very likely, unless some ham happens to be part of a group that goes there, a single op guy, perhaps, but not very likely this one's going to be on anytime soon. Number 24, Syria, Yankee Kilo. This one has been off the air since 2011, when the civil war broke out in Syria. The locals said, basically, we're not going to get back on the air until the war is over. And I don't know if they kind of made it seem like that was their decision, but I'm not so sure about that. But this one is the last time it was activated was in 2010 by YK1BA, who is an American citizen, but he has some Syrian relatives, and he used to go there every year or two. And then the last de-expedition was in 2008. The 6G group went there, and they operated as YK9G. Most all of the YKs have moved out of the country or have passed on, unfortunately. I know YK1AO and his family are here stateside. He's in California with his wife, who's also a ham, and his son is in Virginia. But the rest of them, I really don't know where they are, and they're my only contacts with Syria. Echo Zulu. Some of you old timers will probably have this one. Turkmenistan, EZ. In the old days, it used to be UH8 and RH8 and several of the UK8s, depending on the next letter. But this one has been off the air since August of 2006. If you see any spots on the DX packet telnet cluster system, it's most likely it's an E7 station that someone has either purposely or accidentally or miscopied and then spotted. There, like I said, there has been no legitimate EZ activity since the summer of 2006. They're basically they have an autocracy, I believe, and the big concern there is security issues. I think if somebody really tried, who was close with Turkmenistan, some country that has relations with them, they probably could figure a way to make this happen. Although the locals have not been able to so far. There are a few EZs that are still alive and in country, but this, like I said, this is one of the ones that hasn't been on in quite a long time. Number 22, Chesterfield. This one was added onto the DXCC list in 2000, just days after the announcement of the DXCC 2000 program and when it went into effect. Obviously, somebody knew this was going to be a new country. It had the potential to be a new country. And that's when the first DXpedition was. That was actually March, a few days later, March 31st, I think at 23:59 Zulu, just to avoid not being on the air at 0000 April 1st. This one usually comes on about every 4 or 5 years. Unfortunately, the last time there was a DXpedition was in 2015. They made about 50,000 Qs. There's been at least 2 attempts in the last 3 years to go there. The last I heard was they're not allowing anyone to go because of the ecology there on the island. And we're going to find that there's several others that are in this same ballpark where there's some real concerns about the environment there. So that's number 22. Number 21, another incident which we've just recently found out, same situation. They're not allowing the expeditions, or not allowing anybody supposedly to go to the New Zealand subantarctic islands. Some of us old timers, probably everybody listening will remember this one as Chatham and Auckland Islands. The last time this was on was actually an IOTA DXpedition, ZL9 Alpha, and that was in January of 2016. But since then, and it's just recently kind of come to light, and the ZL9 group that was going to go over the last year or two and has been pushed back, basically we're told you can't go there. KH4 Palmyra is number 20 on the most wanted list. The last DXpedition here, I'm afraid I can't read the year because some pictures, some of the, let me see if I can zap that out. There we go. Okay, was in January of 2016. The K5P group did a great job, 79,000 plus Qs. You can go there. It's not cheap to go there. You do need to go as a eco tourist, but it is a possibility for either one person or a group to go there. I'm not aware of anybody that's currently planning to go, but it is a place that definitely somebody could go to. Palmyra, not Jarvis, to the Nature Conservancy area. What have I done here? Okay, number 19, South Sandwich Islands, Victor Papa 8, one of the 6 VP8 prefixes. Soon probably will change. VP8 will probably change on some of these islands to probably Victor Papa 0, but that's not official yet. The last DXpedition to South Sandwich was in 2016. They did a double D expedition. They went here and I believe South Georgia. They made 54,000 Qs. I'm afraid it's going to be a long time before we see any activity out of this one. Basically, it's on your way to nowhere. You have to specifically be going to South Sandwich in order to go that direction from anywhere. And most of the guys, if you did go there, you'd be going probably from the Falkland Islands. So that's number 19. Number 18, I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen anything out of this one. The KP5 or the K5D group did a fantastic job in 2009 in Desecheo. They had no problems whatsoever. It ran like clockwork. They were very close. They took some of the Fish and Wildlife Service guys there to the island, both to look, to do some of their own work and also for protection. They made 115,000. That's a pretty good chunk. 32,000 unique QSOs. I'm kind of surprised, like I said, that no one has tried to go back here that I'm aware of yet. PY0T, before the COVID outbreak, there was talk of the expedition here and to the next one that I'm going to tell you about. This is Trindade and Martin Vaz, PY0 Tango at number 17. I know that somebody's working on it. I just don't know any other details at the moment. This one usually comes on about every 3 or 4 years. And the last time it was on was PQ0 Tango in April of 2015. And almost always it involves some of the Brazilians. Same thing with PY0S, number 16, St. Peter and St. Paul Rocks. Has the last operation here was in 2015. And that was a scientist who was there. He used to go there every couple of years. He hasn't been back since. And then the last expedition, where there was 100% activity, for ham radio, was in November of 2012. Again, this is one that comes on usually every 3 to 5 years. COVID has kind of screwed up these numbers, obviously, because there hasn't been much going on in the last 2.5 years, 3 years, almost 3 years now we're coming up on. Number 15, I think there's some possibilities here, and I'm aware of at least one group that's working on going to KH4 Midway. The last activity here was a fellow who was working out there for an extended period of time, several months. That was W5FJG. He was last on in July of 2011. Ham radio is supposedly an approved activity there, so someone could theoretically go there and operate. Number 14, ZS8. Again, this is one that comes on usually every year or two. There has never been a multi-op de-expedition to this island. There have been multiple attempts to get big groups to go there, but they have failed, unfortunately. The last operation there was in November of 2017 by ZS8Z. And I believe during this time period, most of those guys, when they go there, it's typically a technician or an internet guy that does some of their communications work for them. It happens to be a ham. Many of the times it's not, a very seasoned DXer or de-expeditioner, but we got to take what we can get, and eventually we'll learn and get better as time goes on, usually. And I think the last time there were actually 3 ZS8s on, two that were hams beforehand, and then one of the guys had a girlfriend there, and I guess he got her interested and she got on the air also. So you never know. I mean, the three ZS8s in one trip down, that was a pretty good year. Number 13, for you guys that need Macquarie Island, now is the time to work it. There is an operator there. It's VK0 Mike Quebec. He's there until October, so you've only got about 3 or 4 more weeks maybe to work this guy. When he does show up, he's there on a work assignment, obviously, but he does get on typically over the weekends and usually our Friday night into Saturday and our Saturday night. Sometimes early Sunday morning our time. He has been on. Most of the activity has been on FT8. I know some of you will say, FT8. Yeah. Well, if you want to work it, if you need it for a new one, you should get on FT8 and work them. It is the way that he's doing it. I think almost exclusively. I don't know that he's been on CW or sideband, but he has been on. The last time anyone before him, same situation, VK0AI. He showed up. He tried to work guys in 2018 into 2019. He got on sideband. He worked like, I don't know, less than 100 guys, got fed up, frustrated, and went to FT8. And by the time he was done, he ended up working about 2,000 or 3,000 contacts during his time there. And that's 2,000 or 3,000 that, you know, he wouldn't have worked if there wasn't FT8. So, and I know, I'm pretty sure he had a pretty lousy antenna, but at least he was able to work a bunch of guys. I know even here on 40 meters, a bunch of locals got him for an all-time new one. So don't poo-poo FT8. If you need it, if you're a DXer, you're going to go after him. Aves Island. This is number 12. Up until Dayton of this year, the Hamvention, I thought for sure it was going to be a long time before we'd see this one come back on the air. They've had a lot of political problems, not just amongst the government there, but also amongst the 2 clubs that are predominantly active and have switched off over the years. The 2 clubs have gone in the past, every 7 years, one club and then another club would go, and they would switch back and forth over the last several decades. The last expedition here was Yankee Whiskey Zero Delta X-ray back in 2007. This is the number 2 most wanted country in Asia and the number 1 most wanted country in Japan. I started off with saying Hamvention. For those of you that were at the convention and you attended the DX forum, W4DTA, who is also YV5 DTA. He lives here in the U.S. And he gave an excellent presentation on all of the Venezuelan islands, and included in that were some great slides and great presentations. He's actually been to Aves, and he didn't say it was going to happen, but he kind of hinted that they're working on a possibility of a de-expedition here. So it may be a year or 2, but at least they're still trying to go there, and most likely they will go with the Navy. That's pretty much how all the past de-expeditions have gone with Aves Island. Number 11, Kerguelen. The last de-expedition here was FT5XO, the Penguin Light guys in 2005. The last operation was a scientist who went there for, I don't remember if it was 3 or 6 months, but he was there in 2017, Frenchman. And in his spare time, he was able to get on the air and operate as FT5 X-ray Tango. And I was fortunate enough to work him on 17 meters. I think I only need 1 more country now on the 17 meter band. So I was very happy to work him. Number 10, Glorioso. I suspect there's a possibility for some group to go here. I don't think there's any concerns at the moment. The last group did a fantastic job here, the FT5GA group. They did it in 2009. That's Seb's group, F5, I can't think of his call right this second, UJK, I think. Seb and his group, they're really some of the younger de-expeditioners out there, and they have done fantastic jobs with putting on some great islands and putting up some fantastic numbers of QSOs in a short time. So nothing that I'm aware of, but I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't hear something on Glorioso in the coming years. 3Y0 Peter 1. Nobody's going here as far as I know. Yeah, I can't announce anything, but I think someone is working on this one. I'll just leave it at that. The last expedition here was 3Y0X. They were there in 2006. But I think there is a group working on going to Peter 1, but it's probably a year or two off. KH4 Johnston Island, I've been there. The last operation here was in 2003 by KT6E. I was there a couple years before as AH3D. Several groups I'm aware of that are working on this one. The Air Force has oversight on this. The biggest concern is not the crazy fire ants, but the plutonium that's supposedly on the island, the leftover plutonium. The Fish and Wildlife Service also need to approve it. And this is the #3 most wanted country in Europe. KH7K, Kure Island. The last expedition here was in 2005. K7C. In order to go here, and I'm aware of at least one group that's trying, in order to go here, you got to get a lot of permissions. 4 different groups, I believe, the Division of Forestry and Wildlife, the Fish and Wildlife Service, NOAA, and the PMNM. So a lot of paperwork to get to this one. BV9P, this one has not been on since 2003, almost 20 years. Prattis Island, that was the last expedition, BQ9P. I know something was in the works. This was prior to, and I don't think I'm letting any cats out of the bag. This was prior to JH1 AJT before he passed away. I know he was working on this one. I don't know who he was working on it with. There's several groups in Taiwan that possibly could help to put this one on the air. Due to the current political situation, though, with China, mainland China, I don't see anything going on here. Prattis is a garrison. There's military personnel on the island, and they are on high alert. So I don't see anything, at least in the near future, with this one. CEOX, the #1, this is number 5 on the DXCC list, most wanted, but #1 on the most inactive list. It's been 20 years, 20 and a half, since this one was on the air. This is the, like I said, the most inactive one out there. The last expedition here did a great job, XR0X, in March of 2002. In fact, they even had some 6-meter openings. That was some good 6-meter openings there. There's 2 islands, San Felix, which is where the military base is, and then San Ambrosia. But I think you're going to need some help. I think whoever goes there is going to need some help from the Chileans in order to get in. Somebody well connected. Everyone's favorite, BS7H, Scarborough Reef. The last time this one was on was in May of 2007. There have only been 4 operations that counted for DXCC to this location. due to the political situation in the South China Sea, I do not see this one coming on anytime soon. Here we go. Now some good news. FT5W Crozet. The last time this one was on was in 2009 by FT5WO. There has never been a DXpedition here. Some of you old timers will remember the days when there was always a scientist or a radio man on board on all of the FT5 islands, and they would usually sign Fox Bravo 8, Whiskey Whiskey, or Zulu Zulu, or Yankee Yankee, or X-Ray X-Ray on the 4 different QTHs that they were located at. But again, no DXpedition has ever taken place until this year. There's a one-man DXpedition planned for late this year. I suspect he'll be leaving in November or early December of this year, and he will be staying until March of 2023. So he'll be there for about 3 months. He is not working. He will be specifically operating the radio as much as he can. There are serious conservation concerns here on this island, as are multiple islands. This is the #1 most wanted in South America and the West Coast, W6 and W7. The guy who is going here, he's not one that most of us will recognize his call, F6CUK, but he's done a number of IOTA operations. He's done several small-time DXpeditions. But the good news is he's going to be there for 3 months. For those of us that are chasing the band countries, we might be able to work 1 or 2 bands. I don't know if you'll be able to work much more than that because it's a one-man show. So it's going to be difficult. And I think he'll probably concentrate on 20 meters and trying to work as many all-time new guys as needed. That's my guess as to what will happen here. But good news, someone is going. Another good news, Bouvet 3Y0. Let's hope they make it. The last time this one was on was by Petrus 3Y0 Echo. I forget his ZS6 call. He was there on a work assignment and operated in his spare time back in 2007, late 2007 and early 2008. The last DXpedition, it may be the only DXpedition, I can't remember, was by 3Y0X, and that was in 1990. Remember when they came on the air? Boy, the band was full on 20 sideband from 14,150 or 14,200 to 350. That was back in the old days when we couldn't go below 200. The last 2 DXpedition attempts have both failed. We all remember the 3Y0Z crew got within sight of the island, less than a mile. They could see the island, and they had 2 times where the engine caught on fire, and they basically said, we gotta scrub this DXpedition. We gotta do whatever we can to get back. I don't remember how many days it took them, almost a month to get back to South Africa. And then followed by the 3Y0I team, Dom's team, got within several hundred miles and got the wind, terrible windstorm blew their antennas off the mast of the boat, and they had to come back. So the last 2 times have not been good for Bouvet and those needing it. So let's hope that the 3rd time is going to be the charm. Although I do know, I know for a fact the 3Y0J team, that's the mostly Norwegian-led team that's going in January 2023. I have full confidence they will get there, and I think they'll be able to get on the island and operate. they, like I said, they're going in 2023 this coming January. 3Y0I, that group led by Dom 3Z9DX has been very tight-lipped. I think they're still saying they're going in 2023 at the end of the year for Christmas. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. But one way or another, I think we're going to get something, maybe two. You never know. P5, the #1 most wanted list on the on Club Log. There has only been 4 approved operations when it was since it's been added in 1995. Just over 12,000 unique QSOs have been made, and that number, the next number is wrong. I know it's about 8,000. Just over 8,000 QSOs have now been claimed for DXCC purposes. Multiple teams were working on this one prior to COVID. I'm not aware of any that are currently working on this one. And the last accepted operation was in December 2015. So there's your top 25. And then I'm gonna, like I said, I wasn't able to change these numbers, but this is just to give you an idea of the ARRL top 340. And the way they rank it is by credits. And I believe this is a mixed number. I'm not positive, but I believe this is a mixed DXCC credit number. So P5 is #1 at 8,000 roughly QS credits, DXers that have been credited for North Korea. And then as you can see, it goes up from there. But some of these literally are like 5, like look at #4 and #5, Crozet and Bouvet. They're literally less than 500 QSOs that make the separation between the two. And there's others that are even closer than that. So some of these countries, especially as you go further down the list, it's 1 or 2 QSOs could make a change in it. Let's see. This is a somewhat new list I've put together. I've had the data for a long time, but I thought it'd be interesting to look at the top 10 most wanted inactive list. And the #1 country is CEOX at just over 20 years since it was last on the air. And you can see Johnston, Prattis, Kure, Peter 1, Aves, Turkmenistan, Scarborough, Bouvet, and Desecheo. And even Desecheo is at 2009. I did the math not too long ago to find out how, some guys always ask me, how long do you have to be on the air to be on the honor roll? Well, if you had worked everything, you would have to have all but one of these, or you have to have at least 331. There's 340. You have to have at least 331. So that means you could realistically have missing 9 countries. So you would have to be on the air from 2008, from February 2008 or earlier in order to get on the honor roll at this point. If you've been a ham since February 9th of 2008 or after, you can't be on the honor roll at this point. Things change, and that's what's that, 2008, that's 14 years. Since I've been a ham, the numbers have ranged basically between 11 and 15 years. So it's par the course. This is a listing of the top 10 most wanted that are on the Club Log list that are active, where there's a ham active. This is the top 10 countries. Mount Athos, United Nations, Somalia, Kiribati, American Samoa, Chatham, what is that? Bangladesh, Kosovo, Chad, and Libya. So I just thought it'd be fun to look at if you need any of these, there's at least a chance that you can work these guys. I just want to put a quick plug in. If anyone wants to try the daily DX or the weekly DX, you can go to www.dailydx.com and get a free 2-week trial. I want to thank publicly Bob and the Madison DX Club and those that aren't in the club that are in attendance. Appreciate you guys having me. And if there's any questions, I'd be glad to try and entertain maybe an answer. And I guess I need to close this out. I guess I'll leave it to Bob to decide what's going on next.
Bob, you're muted. And while he unmutes, Bernie, let me just say thanks for a great program, well put together, well presented. But yeah, let's have some questions for Bernie.
So Bernie, that was really so informative, really a great presentation. And you have an interesting audience here. We have a couple of DX stations. Pardon me?
I see. All of a
sudden. Yeah, so we have a couple of DX stations here. We have Adrian, DK2WF, and we have Richmond from Liberia, EL2BG. So welcome, guys. But you also have some very seasoned DX expeditioners here. So I expect we're going to have a really good discussion.
Very good. Well, welcome to all of our DX that are there.
Is a PowerPoint of this presentation available?
I would prefer not to, just because a number of clubs have asked me to do this presentation, and I'd kind of like to keep doing it.
Okay, I understand.
Updating it. I update it.
I have a comment.
Yes.
I subscribe to both the daily DX and the weekly DX newsletters, and they are just terribly, terribly valuable, especially now that DX is coming back. So go ahead and take Bernie up on his offer of a 2-week freebie. You don't know what you're missing until you actually see what he provides.
Well, thank you for that paid commercial, Lloyd.
I'll be looking for the check in the mail. I guess they can find it just by Googling it, right?
www.dailydx.com or Google, either way. Yep.
There you go. Thank you.
So I hope I didn't let any secrets out of the bag, Adrian.
Hey, Bernie. Yes, nice presentation, although I only caught the end. I just got off from work. So, but one thing that I do want to mention is that I really love your daily DX. You know, I wake up in the morning, on my way to work, I look and see what's going on, if there's any reason to call in sick, and then I go to work. So now I like that slide that tells you that you have to been doing DX since 2008 if you wanted to finish by today. So that's that was pretty cool. I'm actually missing exactly those listed there. But I guess I have some time. Maybe I'll visit some of those places.
Maybe.
I hope so.
And it's amazing that the 4U is the second most rarest out of the ones that are available. It's you know, I operate often from there, but many times it just calls CQ and I don't get anybody. Of course, the people in hams and far away in Asia, you know, they're still salivating for it, but
Yep.
you know, it's a tough DX. It's like us working Mount Tatus from East Coast or some other
West Coast, West Coast.
West Coast. Yes, that's what I meant. So things like that. So
Very good. Any other questions?
challenge.
Go ahead.
Yeah, DXing's a challenge indeed, especially on 160 anyway.
Bernie, WA9GQK, heard Mount Athos mentioned. I have had very little luck even copying him when I have been lucky enough to listen when he's on. Any word of activity from there recently with the new?
Here's what I know. Up until a couple of months ago, you know, he'd be on 3 or 4 times a year for about 4 days at a time. That's typically what happened. And seemed to have done real well with, especially working some of the West Coast guys who needed it for an all-time new one. But apparently he is not working in Mount Athos anymore. He's working in, I probably shouldn't say, but he's not working in Mount Athos at the moment. I don't know what's going on. You know, if he's planning to go back. I know if he does, he can get on the air. That's not a problem. But at the moment, I lost communications with him for a while, and I've just recently established communications with him. And I know he's not in Mount Athos at the moment.
Okay, I did take one look with, I don't know if it was a Google Maps aerial view. And to me, it looked like he's on the far side of the mountain for us here in North America.
I'm not sure which one of the monasteries he's located at. He's on one of the peninsulas is part of Mount Athos. And I think there's, what, 18 or 20 different monasteries. And I'm not sure which one he's at. But I've worked him. He's got a decent signal. So I think it's just a matter of, you know, propagation and time and him being on the air before you get him, Ed. And I'll miss you this weekend. I'm sorry I can't make it.
Yeah, and you know, still get comments. Everyone who attended last year and saw you at the DXU still comments. So thanks very much for that. And yeah, we'll miss you this year, but next year we're hitting 70 for DXCC.
Hey, good deal. Very good.
Hi, Bernie. Frank, K6FW here. I haven't seen any spots for 5A in several months. Do you have any update on those operators over there?
Abu Bakr is still on. He's been on in the last 7 days or so. I'm trying to remember what band, but it's mostly, it seems, FT8. I have not seen, I'm trying to think of her name, the YL, 5A0YL. I have not seen her on the air probably in close to a year. But I know Abu Bakr is at least been on FT8. I don't know. And that's been recent, like within the last 7 days.
Okay, well, thank you. I just haven't seen him spotted, probably because I'm on the West Coast, but I'll keep looking for him.
Okay, Frank.
Bernie, one thing I would be interested in would be a low band de-expedition to ZD9. I guess there's probably been some isolation down there due to COVID, but you have any ideas? Are there any ideas? Anybody cooking up an expedition to ZD9?
The only one I'm aware of at the moment, but I'm sure there are a few. I know there's been some guys that have talked over the years about going. Only one guy has actually publicly said he's going, but unfortunately for you, he's a 6-meter EME guy.
Oh, okay.
W7GJ has said he's planning to go there next year.
Okay, well, I guess I'll have to get into EME, but boy, I'd love to work ZD9 on 160 meters. Boy, that'd be delightful.
Hello, Skip. We've got at least one JA run.
Hi. Yeah, Wednesday morning here. So
good
sunshine
morning.
day, so hot. It's very interesting that listening to your presentation. It's very interesting. Actually, I'm starting amateur radio 1975, so I recognize I'm auto timer. So almost expeditions I know that, but and I recognize that it's much different from my experience from the today you're showing the top 10, a little bit different. I believe so far. So in the sense, very interesting. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the daily DX. I support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Skip. Well, any other DX questions?
Well, Bernie, thanks an awful lot for coming by and sharing that with us. And perhaps we should have you back another time to talk about the updated list and just kind of how expeditions will get going again, if they get going again, now that we're getting, I hope, past any sort of pandemic scares and countries open up. But like you said, there's more and more of those islands that are having environmental concerns that are closing down, which makes it very difficult. So it's always going to be an interesting topic, and thanks an awful lot for coming and joining and sharing with us this evening.
Well, Kevin, thank you for hosting the meeting. Bob, thanks for the invite. And everybody, thanks for attending. I appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a good luck. And I hope everybody here works Adrian in January for an all-time new one and a whole bunch of bands. Good luck, guys.